Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live, and tonight we are joined by special guest Darren Keilan. Darren, thank you for
How you
being
doing?
our guest. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Excited to have you here with us. So
Yeah,
let's just get started. You
cool.
you have a lot of credits beyond in front of the camera. You have done a lot of writing, directing, and producing, particularly in short films. So,
Yeah.
how did your career get started and the love for doing shorts?
Yeah, I started really young when I was about 10 years old, and from there the love just kicked off. But it wasn't until I had my manager because things got really, really slow. So I asked him, I was like, "Hey, uh, what do I do?" And he's like, "Just create your own content, do your stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." So that was around 2018.
Okay.
I got this weird idea for a little short called Roommate Nightmare with a buddy of mine. And simple idea, just you're living with a roommate and he's crazy. Um, just OCD and like doesn't know what he's doing. And it was written in like 2 days and filmed the weekend after. Uh, and it garnered kind of some attention from friends and families and other people. So I was like, okay, cool. And then we just created more and more and more, and some failures, some little successes, but it was all just a learning experience. And I loved every second of it. And now to this day, it's just my manager is still like, create more content. When things were super slow, especially during the pandemic, it was just like, if no one else is going to cast you, you got to cast yourself.
Make your own
So,
opportunities. Absolutely.
exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
So that was the philosophy going into it.
a lot of your shorts revolve around comedy. Would you say
Mhm.
comedy is, when it comes to writing at least, you feel the most comfortable with?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's something about comedy because growing up, I don't know, felt like a class clown sometimes. So I just figured like, okay, if I can make people smile and laugh, I can do it in writing as well. But that's the one I'm most comfortable with. But the one that I just absolutely love is horror and anything kind of sci-fi related. Like I would
Nice.
love to dive deep into the horror genre.
Very nice.
That's like the one I love.
That's great to hear. A
Hmm.
lot of people have this question when, a lot of people are interested in becoming filmmakers. Creating shorts
Hmm.
is a great way of doing it. The big
Yeah.
question everybody has is, how do you get your shorts in front of a viewing audience? How did you do it?
So what I did was I just uploaded it to YouTube, you know, and I just texted friends and family. I was like, "Hey, watch it. If you like it, go ahead and share it." You put it up on Facebook, on Instagram, at the time TikTok wasn't a thing.
No.
So, but any way you can get it out there, doesn't matter how small it is, um, you just need eyes to
Yeah.
watch it, you know. And I know doing the festival circuit, it costs money, and sometimes you're not guaranteed anything.
No.
But at least with YouTube, Vimeo, any sort of that, as long as you push it out there and you're really, really consistent with it, then people will be more inclined to watch. Yeah.
Absolutely. You are very well known for doing a lot of voiceover work. Like our previous guest that we had this week, Harrison Zhu. You guys
Yeah.
were both in All of Us Are Dead. You
Hmm.
played the voice of the detective, correct?
No, I played the voice of one of the main students. He was
Okay.
Harrison Zhu's character's best friend.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the guy who
Gotcha.
always wore the suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, this show is a big, huge success on Netflix. It's still in the
Yeah.
top 10. What was it like to be a part of it? And when you got the role to do the voice, Harrison sort of explained what he did. What did you do to get into the mindset of these characters?
So I got an email randomly from the production company. It was like, "Hey, we want you to read for this role." So I drove all the way up to Burbank, was in a live studio for about 5 minutes, and they just gave me like random scenes cut together, like
Yeah.
random. And they would watch it a couple times, and we would kind of go through it. So as I was watching it, I would kind of look at the little quirks that the character has, that the actual actor does have, ways he moves his face or way he moves his body. Because in the show, like, I mean, he's just, kicking zombies and hitting them with everything. He's just punching them. He's doing all this stuff. So I was like, that's kind of like how I would be in a zombie apocalypse. Um, that's just how it is. So it was just trying to get into that feel, and you would hear them talk, and you try to imitate it, but then sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. But I mean, it was like getting into the mindset of like,
Yeah.
if I was in the zombie apocalypse
What
and
would
this
you
was
do?
happening, exactly what would you do?
Being a
And this character,
fan of
yeah,
horror, I'm sure you must have been really excited at the opportunity to do this.
super excited. Yeah, I didn't even know it was a zombie film. When I did it, they have very vague breakdowns,
Uh
like
huh.
barely tell you anything. So all I knew is it was a high school thing, and I went in. It was a horror-esque type, and when I went in, the first thing they show me is like, yeah, he's getting chased by zombies. I'm like, okay, cool. Um, and I mean, it was the most vocally demanding role,
Yeah.
dubbing, voiceover, anything I've ever done, because the amount of running they do, the amount of breathing, the amount of fighting, and just screaming, um, it was insane. But yeah, I was extremely excited to just be a part of this and do it.
When you got to see the final product like we did, and
Mhm.
I mean, it's no wonder why it's so popular. As a horror fan yourself, as a fan, what are your
Mhm.
thoughts on this show?
So when I dubbed it, I was, because we only see our parts,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really confused by a
Yeah.
lot of it. But then I saw the film or the show, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire the storytelling. I admire the 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 area that it just revolved around. It didn't go anywhere too crazy.
Mm-mm.
Like eventually it goes somewhere else. But I mean, I was very pleased with it, and I never expected it to, be in the top 10 or any of that stuff. Because when you're doing these dubbing things, you never expect anything.
Yeah.
You go to the studio, you do your voice, and you just go home.
Do you
But
feel that part of the success of All of Us Are Dead is because they really kind of kept it simple? Bunch of high schoolers trapped in a school. They have
mm-hmm.
this viral outbreak, and it's not like other series. They know they're zombies. They call them zombies. They even reference Train to Busan, which is a great film, and I like
Mm-hmm.
that the fact that they do that. As a horror fan, is that something that you liked? All right, they're not called something else. They're zombies. They realize they're dead and they're back from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like that
Yeah,
aspect?
I do, because a lot of films they kind of beat around the bush on the word zombies because it's
Mm-hmm.
so overused.
Yeah.
They call them infected or whatever it may be, and it's just like,
Walkers and so
yeah,
on. Yeah.
whatever it may be, because even video games do that. They don't call them zombies; they're infected or
Yeah.
sleepers, whatever it may be. But this was refreshing in a way because they were just like, they're zombies. And other
Exactly.
characters are like, they're not zombies. Come on, but it's like that they're zombies.
Yeah. They're dead
You
and
know?
they're back and they run and they're crazy. What do you
Yeah.
think about the zombie movies coming out of South Korea? They're so amazing,
Hmm.
but in particular with the rage zombies. The
Right.
Americans, I mean, there have been some great films outside of Korea that incorporated both rage and what I like to call the snail zombies, the creepy crawler type slow paced zombies. The rage zombies, they're just like unstoppable. There's like no defense against them. So, as a
Hmm.
horror fan yourself, first off, which one do you find more entertaining, the slow or the rage infected zombies?
I like the I like the rage infected. Um, the thing that all of us are dead they made kind of unique was that it just seemed like they were still human
Yeah,
and could still do those things, but you knew they weren't.
no. Do you,
Because like half their face is gone or they survive these crazy things.
do you
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
oh no,
you.
of course,
I was going to ask you, do you like the fact that they incorporated the element where not everybody that bit gets turned into a full blown zombie, like Henri
yeah,
and her character,
hmm
which I
yeah,
think was probably my favorite character of the whole show.
mm,
She was very fascinating, very multifaceted, very interesting character. She got bit, but they don't turn, as did
yeah,
the antagonist, the bully of the school as well. Do you
yeah.
like that they put a sort of different spin on the whole zombie
I
lore?
did. Yeah, I did because it's always so common. Like once you're bit, you're screwed.
Yeah,
Like that's it. But for this, it's kind of like if you think about it, like any type of disease, like if you get it, there's still antibodies in you. You're still partially immune. You could be or you couldn't be.
yeah.
And I like how they did that in this. They made it somewhat realistic to where like not everyone's gonna be a full blown walker or zombie or and they kept it different. It was refreshing to see because I know, even video games do that. Like once you're bit, you're done.
Yeah.
And
A-
yeah, I thought that was really cool.
And what I also liked is doing a comparison to sort of superhero movies. If somebody all of a sudden, like Spider Man, he got bit by a spider, he became Spider Man.
Yeah.
If you're good, you're going to use your power for good.
Yeah.
But like in All of Us Are Dead with the bully, if
Hmm.
you're a bully in life, you're going to be a bully if you get these superhuman powers and become a zombie. Uh,
Yeah.
it transcends, and I like that aspect of it. And it really reminds me a lot. For some reason, as I was watching the show, it brought me back to like the superheroes. If you get power, if you're good,
Hmm.
you're going to use your power for good. If you're bad, you're going to use your power for bad. Right?
Exactly. It just enhances whatever is already there.
Now, going back to South Korea and all the amazing films, particularly horror, even going deeper, the zombies. What do you think that is being done in South Korea that they're really nailing this genre and are just so successful with it?
Yeah, I mean, if I could pick one thing, like they've done so much to keep it different. And I know like we have the American adaptations. I think there's one of Train to Busan
Yeah,
that's coming out sometime. And I don't know how that's gonna work
yeah,
personally.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Never as
I don't
good
know.
as the original.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, if it's there, keep it like that. That's my opinion. But I they always have an interesting take on any type of horror genre. I mean, like Parasite, for example, was
Hmm.
psychological horror, and it was just you didn't really know what was going to happen next, and that's kind of what I liked about it. It's just
Yeah.
it's unpredictable in a way, but at the same time, it is predictable. But you just don't know which way they're going to go.
Exactly. As a voiceover actor, do you want to continue to keep pursuing that? Like when times are slow with the
Hmm.
pandemic and, there's not as many opportunities out there.
Yeah,
Have you been sending in a lot more tapes for voiceover work?
yeah, I have. It's not as much as I'd like. Like I would like to do a voiceover every week if I could, or
Mm-hmm.
even every day. Um, I love doing voiceovers. I also love being in front of the camera, doing any type of actual acting.
Yes.
But there's a sense of, you know, there's a calmness to just being in a booth,
Yeah.
soundproof booth, and you just have this screen in front of you, and that's how that's your job for the day. You're just voice acting.
All of us, I told this to Harrison as well. All of us are dead. For me, it sort of depends. Sometimes I watch it with subtitles, but because I was sort of working, I watched All of Us Are Dead dubbed. So I heard your
Mhm.
voice throughout the
Yeah,
entire episodes. Uh, do you feel an added responsibility to make sure you get the emotions of the character spot on to portray that?
I do. I do, and sometimes it also depends on the direction that we're given. So I've done a number of voiceovers, and I've worked with so many different directors, and they all have their own unique style. So some
Hmm.
of them want you to do more than what the actor in front of you is giving, and sometimes it sounds a little like anime dubbed,
Yeah,
um, which is nothing wrong with that for anime
yeah,
because it's an animated character. Uh, but when I think you're voicing an actual person, it's nice to at least match their energy.
and facial expressions and the
Yeah,
situation that they're in particular. I could
yeah,
totally
exactly.
totally understand that. Uh, we learned that the studio, in this case it was Netflix,
Hmm.
provided the translation. Uh,
Yeah.
when you were reading the translation and also watching the scenes that involved your character, do you feel that the translations that you were given nailed it, as far as what was being said in Korean
Hmm.
translated into English?
They were pretty close. Sometimes the translations get lost in the mix,
Mm-hmm.
and we're required to match their mouth movements. They call them flaps.
Yeah.
So sometimes the English translation is like a one syllable word,
Mm-hmm.
but the Korean word for it is like two or three syllables.
Yeah. I'm
So
bilingual as well, so I totally
okay.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sometimes it's tough to translate it literally.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of add a little bit of stuff to at least make it match.
What's
But for the
coming
most
out of
part,
the mouth? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So as you move forward, you have absolutely the right idea. Make your own opportunities until
Mhm.
something else comes its way. I see you
Yeah,
have a lot of other shorts that are in post production and
I do.
whatnot. Are you keeping yourself busy and producing and writing new content?
I am. I took a little hiatus after for all of January from any type of writing just because, I mean, it was so dead for me.
Yeah.
I didn't get a single thing until January 31st. I got my first audition. Um, but then my girlfriend, she was like, "Hey, you don't seem very motivated to do this stuff." I was like, "Huh, kinda, yeah." So she, kind of like lit the fire again, and I've been writing nonstop the last week on just a bunch of different shorts, different ideas, and um, all that stuff. And I think the most important thing is don't limit yourself to a budget or to anything you don't think is possible because eventually it will be possible. And that was what kind of clicked for me because I
Yeah.
was just thinking like, oh, okay, I have no money. I can't, make blood or anything like that or any of that stuff. And I was like, wait, then I'm limiting the script and the story, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you see as your career progresses, like let's say a piece of writing of yours really takes off, a short. We have seen
Hmm.
many times shorts be made into feature films, and you're
Yeah.
presented with an opportunity where you get approached by, let's say, a studio, independent filmmakers, producers, whatnot. They love
Hmm.
this short and they want you to write a feature. They want you to turn it into a feature film and to write it.
Yeah.
Uh, you sort of mentioned that your passion is to be in front of the camera,
Hmm.
but is that something that you would not be happy with, or would you just love the opportunity that someone really loved one of your short films and the writing behind it to turn it into a feature film?
Yeah. I would actually love the opportunity, as for the longest time as I was writing this stuff, and especially during the pandemic, I just thought, my writing sucks. You're your own biggest critic, of course.
Exactly.
But I constantly had that, which is why I stopped for a while. I was just like, God, this sucks. No one's gonna want to see this. Like, I don't even like doing it. Yada yada yada. But it was just me making excuses for
Yeah.
not doing anything. Um, but I mean, I would love that opportunity. I would love to write a feature film. I have so many like different ideas that I would love to incorporate in something, and like working with a team, producers and other writers and all that, would be fantastic. Like, I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause it would be a different skill set that I could learn uh, get constructive criticism for, and then take it into any future projects that I do.
That's a great attitude. That's a great attitude to have. I saw one of your posts today in the release of Dog, which
Yes.
stars Channing Tatum, and you had a very
Mhm.
interesting quote. Let's see if my scene got cut, or something to
Yeah.
that matter. Did your scene get cut? Did you watch it?
I I didn't watch it yet. It just came out today,
Uh
but
huh.
I was, you know, I was so nervous for this that I didn't have any time to go to the theater because I actually forgot. Um, but then I saw on IMDb, I was like, oh, there's a news article out, and I kept getting notifications for it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's out.
Well,
So I don't know,
well,
but
I'm gonna watch it. I hope your scene did not get cut. Now you're
I
also
hope,
in a very big film that's coming out this summer with Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt. It's a small
yeah.
role, but the movie is called Bullet Train.
Hmm.
What was that experience like?
Honestly, that was probably the best experience I've had on a set so far. Um, it
Big
just came
budget?
out. Yeah, yeah, it was insane. I mean, we can go on for hours talking about how the set looked and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, they started production right after and like whatever happened with the pandemic. They got the okay to bring this many people onto the set.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little rough the first couple of days. Um, I filmed off and on for about 2 or 3 months, and I mean, it was just absolutely insane. Seeing some of these stars up close and like being able to work in the same room with them, and it was cool.
The two
Like it was
main
really, really cool.
stars are Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock. Did you actually get to see them and so on?
I got to see Brad Pitt.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to see him. I remember like the first, it was, I think the first day on set, his double walked in,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, is that Brad Pitt? I don't even know. But I was like, no, he's standing up too straight. I don't think Brad Pitt walks like that. It was like there's a bunch
Yeah.
of different things. You start doubting yourself. And then you hear him talk, and it's like, that does not sound like him. That guy has like a commanding voice.
Yeah.
Um, and then Brad Pitt actually came on, and he's got this very like soft voice doing the scene, and I was like, okay, that's him.
That's definitely Brad Pitt. What are your
Yeah,
feelings walking onto a big budget set? Was it what you thought it would be? Did it
it
completely
was.
blow you away?
Yeah, it did. It was at Sony Studios, and I just remember walking onto the actual set and just being blown away by one, the budget was insane, and two, that they actually, it's on a train, of course,
Mm-hmm.
bullet train. They actually built train cars.
Wow.
We had about three of them, and I was, you walk through this and you're just amazed every step of the way, and they got this, so many like wires running everywhere, and it's absolutely insane.
As a
Like,
filmmaker yourself, and of
mhm,
course, in 98% of all filmmakers work on micro budgets,
yeah,
and doing the best that they can. And here you are, you got a part on this multi-million dollar film. I
mhm.
mean, would you say it's like completely two different worlds, but the end objective is you guys are creating.
Yeah,
It's art. You're making
yeah.
motion pictures. But do you think there's a great big divide that just separates the two worlds completely?
So I actually I don't think so, because I
Okay.
think in the end everyone is there to do one job, and that's to create.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think this they're not worlds apart. The only thing different is the budget.
The money.
you
Yeah.
know. But in the end, like it's all the same. Like people are there to make magic happen. Like it's insane too because doing student films when I was younger, you'd meet these people that just had a very negative outlook on it, and they're like, "Oh, I wish I had this. I wish I had that. I wish I had this." And it's like, okay, well, you can keep complaining, or you can just
Yes. Stop bitching
work
and,
with
and do something about it.
exactly just work with what you got.
Yeah.
That's it. And like these people on the set, they've got everything. but at the
Hmm.
same time, they're like completely erratic and scattered because every they got to find actors and they got to do this and like, oh, someone's gone, like, oh, we don't know, but they're all super respectful. They're really nice, and they get the work done,
Yeah.
which I think is the most important thing. And they know how to, they just treat everyone with respect. So there's not this huge divide at all. It's more the people and the mindset that goes into it,
Yeah.
which will make or break a set.
I totally agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree. You have a reputation as a martial arts artist. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started off in Taekwondo when I was about 13 years old, and from there Taekwondo turned into karate, then turned into every other martial art imaginable, and studying bits and pieces of that. And my manager caught wind of it. He's like, "Hey, do
That's an
something with the
asset.
martial." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as a kid, like you don't really think that is because I was just like a little Asian boy
Mm-hmm.
going into this whole Hollywood business. Like you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's like how many other dudes that look like me also know martial arts?
Mm-hmm.
So many. um, but so I then created my first action short um, that I choreographed myself and did all that, and I was quite pleased with it, because I just came from an injury,
Mm-hmm.
and then a month later, once I started feeling better, we started production up on that. But yeah, I mean, my martial arts journey has been just straight commitment, getting hurt, not giving up, and just you got to get back on the horse. You can't just lay down and die pretty much. Like you just can't do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it is even in Hollywood, particularly Hollywood, it's an asset. You never know what
Hmm.
opportunities that is going to open up for you, and
Yeah,
everything is an asset. And I think you've got a great attitude, Darren, and I love the fact that you just don't sit around. You make opportunities for yourself. I want to thank you
of
so much for just coming on here and
course.
sharing your stories. Looking forward to Bullet Train that's coming out in the summer. I'm gonna watch
Yes.
Dog. I'm gonna look for your scene. I'm gonna make sure
Yeah.
they didn't cut it. Any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on. You asked great questions. This is not what I expected from any type of interview. So
Oh,
I really do appreciate it. And,
thank
you
you,
know,
thank
hope we can do
you.
this again sometime.
I hope. I think we will. I absolutely, definitely think we will. I want to thank Darren for being our guest. Thank you to our audience who's tuning in live and those who will watch this later on. On behalf of Darren and myself, guys, stay safe, have a great weekend, and stay walking. Good night.
All right.